Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
A friend of mine is a teacher and started back at school last month. On the second day, she showed me her smartwatch that she'd walked more than 13,000 steps just that day, taking care of and teaching those kids. That translates to about 5.5 miles. Wow! A good teacher doesn't just sit behind a desk all day. She's busy. I know my mom rarely sat down when she taught. Even after the students went home, she flitted around the room, getting everything ready for the next day. The only time she sat down was at home in the evenings as she graded papers and planned for the next day. So let's think about the greatest teacher who ever lived, Jesus. They didn't have a Fitbit or a smartwatch back then, but I'd guess my friend's 13,000 steps in her day at school would be a short morning stroll for Jesus and His disciples. Though most places Jesus traveled would have only taken a couple of hours by car, He didn't have one, or the minibus He would have needed to take the 12 disciples with Him everywhere. They walked. For example, though Bethany, where Lazarus and his family lived, is only 6 miles from Jerusalem, a mere 30-minute drive, it might have taken Jesus and His friends over 2 hours to walk there. From Jerusalem to Sychar, where Jesus met the woman at the well, Jesus and His disciples had to travel over 45 miles, a 17.5-hour walk according to Google. Traveling from Capernaum, Jesus' home base throughout the Gospels, to Jerusalem for Passover would have taken roughly a 38-hour walk, more than 100 miles. In the Gospels, Jesus traveled all around Judea and Galilee, even venturing out to foreign countries like Tyre and Sidon in what was then Syria, and the region of the Decapolis on the other side of the Sea of Galilee. They walked everywhere they went. But when you walk really far, you want to be intentional about it. I like to listen to different preachers and podcasts. And I walk for a purpose, to stay healthy and lose weight if possible. Everywhere Jesus went, He had to be intentional. He only had 3 years, so He had to use each moment, even those hours of walking. So I'm sure He used that time to teach and train His disciples, whether one-on-one or the whole group together. And He stopped at different places to teach and heal. Also, He didn't waste time. For example, instead of walking around Samaria like most Jews did, He walked through it, visiting Samaritan towns along the way. And even when He was on His way to be crucified in Jerusalem, He took time to stop and heal a blind man in Jericho. Matthew 4:23 says, Jesus traveled throughout the region of Galilee, teaching in the synagogues and announcing the good news about the kingdom. And He healed every kind of disease and illness. His primary purpose was to share the gospel, and that mission took Him all over Israel and the surrounding areas. So where does it take you? The Lord doesn't call everyone to be an itinerant preacher like Jesus or Saul or one of my great-great-grandfathers back in the 1800s. But He does call us to walk next door to welcome a new neighbor and invite them to church. He calls us to walk over to the next cubicle at work and ask a coworker how we could pray for them. He calls me to turn off my preachers and podcasts sometimes when I go for a walk and talk to fellow walkers, build a relationship with them, and take opportunities to share the gospel as we walk. Where is God calling you to walk to today to share His love and His truth with someone?
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through His Word. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you can find in the description below. Thank you for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.